BVI Festival kicks off in grand style. Shamoi Dagou's sentence raises major concern. Fast-track regularization initiative resumes.
Cocaine seized on boat at Port Purcell, InterCaribbean now flying from the BVI to Santiago, and St. Croix Tim Duncan hired as Spurs assistant coach. These and more stories when 284 News returns.
What are you really running for, boss? You could have bust a hole in your head. But see, with the competition, it's mean about to bust a hole in your pocket.
I could get my modem, please.
Anyhow, I got something huge to show you.
I gotta be sick in your head.
Well, hold on, string bean. Taking a kind of party. Check this. That's LTE1 for just about everyone. LTE2 for you and your boo. And hold on. Bam! Rate so low, you feel like you're free. That's LTE3 for you and the whole family.
Save even more on your internet with new pricing from CCT. Get LTE 2 now for only $149. Get LTE 3 for the new low price of $189. All packages are unlimited, so there's no overage charge. You don't have to run into Chaz for savings. Just stop by our store and sign up today. Come on over to CCT. Life Unlimited.
Hello?
Wait, you had a lunch at Jeff? You say you were sick? What happened to our wedding rehearsal?
No, babe. I'm actually watching the news right now. Take a listen.
Topping our newscast today, UFOs seen around Tortola Pier Park.
And District 3 residents outraged over no water supply. They simply cannot bathe. These and more stories when 284 News returns.
All right, babe, just get some rest, take 2 Advil, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Okay, honey. I see you later. I love you.
It's clear to see that Coconut Lounge is a place to be, the coolest cocktail lounge in the British Virgin Islands. A lounge like no other, with welcoming, professional service, and a breathtaking ambiance. Not forgetting a diverse selection of wines, beers, and signature cocktails. Cozy, comfortable, contemporary. Coconut Lounge at Tortola Pier Park. Visit us today. Welcome everybody. It's Tuesday, July 23rd, 2019. I'm Ron Grant.
And I'm Javon Wilson.
Jovan, how was your day so far, my friend?
It was good. I can't complain.
Well, we have a lot going on this week. Topping our newscast today, the road to festival is officially in full gear, even though the primetime festival does not officially open until Friday, July 26th. Preliminary activities have already begun and have set the pace for the 65th Emancipation celebrations. So first of all, the Kiddies Fiesta, the 2019 Kiddies Fiesta was a huge success as hundreds of children and their families came out and participated in the highly anticipated event on Saturday, July 20th at the Alter Scatliff Primary School grounds in Road Town. The highlight of the day's activity was the Kiddies Fiesta Parade, which was on pause for about 5 years, but they came back this year with lots of entries.
Great comeback.
And then also on Saturday evening, the Eileen L. Parsons Auditorium came alive with the contestants for the upcoming Miss BVI pageant showcasing their cultural and promotional attire. The evening also saw the contestants being interviewed. Now, this is an annual event, Jovan, that again was sold out and has drawn a lot of attention. It's a highly anticipated event. You went to the event.
I was definitely there, and it was a packed event. I love the Miss British Virgin Islands show so much. This year we see 5 capable young ladies vying for the title. Okay. We had the national costume promo BVI, where they had the opportunity to promote the British Virgin Islands, as well as the interview segment, not only the question and answer segment, but also their professional wear. Okay. And it was amazing. A lot of great questions asked, Ron. Interestingly, one of the questions that I loved was, should sex education be introduced to our primary school students? Yes. And I'm curious to know, what do you think about that? Should it?
You know what? I just think it's, I think it's a parent's place to introduce that conversation to his child, or whether it be male or female. I think the conversation should begin at home. I don't think it should end at home, but I think it should begin at home. What you see happening a lot of times is, even with sex education, students are not getting a comprehensive approach and a reality check. And I think if it comes from home, then we would kind of eliminate a lot of issues that we see, whereas the children are getting secondhand information. And secondhand information could also come from school.
Agreed.
Okay?
Another great segment was Promo BVI, like I said, where the contestants essentially had an opportunity to represent or sell the BVI as if they were an ambassador. And of course, it's one set of information being regurgitated, so it really boiled down to who was best able to present the information. All in all, such a great production.
But I have a question for you, because you're such a big fan of the pageant. Before it was all in one night, and now it's separated into a promotional interview section, and then we go to the actual pageant. What do you think about that? Should it be inclusive, or the way it is it feasible?
I love the format right now because there's so many diverse segments in the pageant, and essentially you want to be able to capture the essence of each segment, and they are long. You're promoting the BVI, you're promoting poise and elegance. You have to tap into that intellectual aspect as well. So I think putting it all into one night is rushing it a bit. So I'm really happy about the format. Even though it was, 3 segments on Saturday night, it took us about 2 to 3 hours.
So imagine that having that in one night, people kind of get a little tired and overwhelmed.
Right, so we could get down to business. Be sure to be sure to visit the finale.
Yes, because the show is coming up. But however, on Sunday, July 21st, 8-year-old aspiring basketball player Tariq Charles and 11-year-old aspiring lawyer Essence Ha Julian were crowned the 2019 Prince and Princess winners at a very stiff competition held at the Multipurpose Sports Complex. Now, both winners are students of the Pelican Gate School. The circus-themed pageant saw the children competing as individual contestants instead of as couples, which took place before in years gone by. Essence walked away with the prizes for Best Talent, Popularity, Best Circus de Tortola Wear, Best Evening Wear, and Best Ambassadorial Wear. The other charming contestants for the Princess title were Shanika A. Pinnock, Deasia Forbes, and Maisha George. Shekinah, one of those contestants, also scored prizes for having copped awards for Most Photogenic, Best Introductory Dance, and Best Ambassadorial Speech, and Nova Beta Congeniality, which were some very different and interesting topics for the students. Now, Jovan, you know very well that my thoughts towards pageants are very mixed. However, for this particular pageant, I like it because you see young people getting an opportunity to really just build their self-confidence. They get an opportunity to mix and mingle with peers and students of all ages, and it really is a stepping stone for students who might not have a very high self-confidence. So as it's in past, you would hear me talk about pageants and the fact that I don't really care for them. But this particular pageant gets me every year because it really shows the young people getting an opportunity to come about themselves.
I agree with that. I think it really takes a tremendous amount of courage and tenacity to indulge in the world of pageantry. A lot of confidence, definitely. So I do applaud all the contestants across the board. And again, we're looking forward to the grand finale of the Miss British Virgin Islands pageant. Moving right along, InterCaribbean is now flying from Santiago to the BVI, the privately owned regional airline based in Turks and Caicos, with flights to 22 cities within 13 countries, has added yet another route that will be of great benefit to you, our dear residents of the Virgin Islands. This inaugural flight, which touched down yesterday, Ron, July 22nd at the Terrence B International Airport, now gives us a chance to fly straight.
It's amazing.
Ron, get your tickets ready. Good news. We spoke to the marketing manager as well as one of the coordinators at InterCaribbean. Take a look.
Well, today we had our first flight from Tortola to San Diego and back. And as you can see, it was a success. We're just hoping this is not going to be the first and last, but there are many, many more to come.
We have quite a large number of persons from the Dominican Republic living in the BVI. What does this do for, I would say, bridging the gap between the two countries?
I think one of the things we actually looked on was the travel time for passengers, and the DR being a large country. This morning, speaking with one passenger, he was saying to us that this flight to Santiago actually makes his travel time 4 hours less than if he was to go into Santo Domingo. So we're hoping that the news gets around that InterCaribbean is now in Santiago, and it's an alternative from Santo Domingo, which is in the city. It's a busier airport, and going into Santiago, it's less hassle getting in and out of that airport.
And how long is this flight?
It's an hour and a half flying time.
What BVI? I love it. Run the team from the BVI Tourist Board, Ms. Renicius Catliffe, she's the marketing manager, and team, they were there to, of course, greet the passengers. They gave them welcome bags from the British Virgin Islands. So essentially what I love about this is we have to take into consideration that we have at least 1,200 natives from the Dominican Republic living in the British Virgin Islands. So essentially what this does is it strengthens our regional relationship. And it's a great way for us to, here in the BVI, to go visit another country.
Absolutely.
As well as, you know, a great gateway for those persons to come visit and experience what the BVI is all about.
But Jovan, as we seek to really improve and solidify our place within the tourism sector, this is just a very small step in the right direction. So I commend the BVI Tourist Board and the government of the Virgin Islands for moving in the right direction.
And another great thing that I love about this airline, we know we are upon the 65th Festival of the British Virgin Islands. They're actually affording the residents, or any person rather, flying into Beef Island, a 15% discount off all tickets for the festival season. So again, InterCaribbean is doing great things. They're extending their reach throughout the region and throughout the world, and we do applaud them and wish them well.
At the end of the day, we can't take vacation at the same time. Somebody got to read the news, so we got to figure that path out.
Well, aside from that, there's a lot more coming for you viewers. Stay tuned. You're watching 284 News.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There's the answer code.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Brilliant Hands and Minds tutoring services, one-on-one tutorials in math and English, intense homework assistance, academic enrichment, school projects, effective communication and public speaking development, sign language for adults and children on Saturdays only. Registered with the Virgin Islands High School Certificate Program, Brilliant Hands and Minds can help you too. Offering intense curriculum-based training to help you or your loved ones get their high school diploma. It's time to make your family's education a #1 priority. Hurry, space is limited. Brilliant Hands and Minds Learning Center. We are the trained education professionals.
Welcome back, viewers. Social media has been on a rant after Bellevue resident Shamoi Dagou was recently sentenced by Magistrate Anne-Marie Smith to 26 months for looting after the storm. He was also ordered to repay Infinite Solutions $286 for the television by July 31st or receive an additional 6 months in prison. Now, Jovan, social media has been going crazy over this story, and there are a couple of facts based on my research that we have to take into consideration. When you look at the aggravating factors presented by the magistrate, she mentions that he worked at the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force as a messenger. Now, first of all, it does not matter where you work, all right? He could have worked at CCT as a messenger, he could have worked at anywhere else as a messenger. You don't hold the young man in the same accord as you would have held a police officer, okay? That's the first thing, okay? So we have to look into...
I somewhat disagree with that.
Tell me.
In a basic regard, I feel like we all should be held at one standard.
I
It
agree.
matters not. So like you said, yes, you shouldn't hold him to the regard of a police officer, but I think across the board there should be one standard.
But don't make it seem as though because he worked at the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force as a messenger that he is...
The penalty should be a lot
correct.
harsher.
All right. Then we look at some aggravating factors. She mentioned that he committed the offense after the natural disaster. Now, the Smith administration, right after Irma, they amended legislation so that persons who looted in a natural disaster would have achieved or gotten stiffer penalties, okay?
I remember
After
that.
their observation of what took place at the storm, they realized, it got a little out of control and they put stiffer penalties into place. What you see though, and this is just my observation from my research, is almost as though the magistrate was trying to come through the back door and hold the young man liable for an amendment that was not even done at the time of the offense, okay? That's the first thing. And then what you see clearly is persons who might have committed the same offense, got community service, they got a fine.
They got a fine.
But you have a young man who didn't have any priors getting 26 months, all right? Now, petty crimes are usually sent to the magistrate's court. Why on earth does this specific case of looting tried in the high court? I need justification for that, ladies and gentlemen. Others who, again, committed that crime were sent to, the magistrate court, but they also got lighter penalties of community service and what have you. The business which he looted from Infinite Solutions said they sustained damages not from the storm, but as a result of persons looting, which was the case in a lot of businesses. The hit came really after the storm with looting. But there was no specific evidence in this case that said that the young man was a part of damaging the property, okay? Now, he was sentenced to 26 months for burglary, not 2 years. If he had gotten 2 years, as you know, a jail sentence is 9 months.
9 months.
Versus a regular year is 12 months. So if he had gotten 2 months, 2 years, essentially, it would have been less.
Right.
But you see here where they specifically gave him 26 months, which means that is exactly what he will serve.
Very
all right?
intentional.
But for the fact that his sentence was specifically that, you kind of wonder, what's the case. Additionally, based on the research that I've been doing and cases that have come up in the recent arrest blotter, take for example, Brandon Riley got 32 months at Her Majesty's Prison after threatening, assaulting, and attempting to shoot another man. We have no idea if this firearm was even licensed, but essentially, in my opinion, this is attempted murder. Okay,
Right.
Perhaps had he aimed specifically, it would have been a different story.
Rehabilitation.
Correct. He got 32 months. And the same magistrate in this case said that Mr. Riley is an identical candidate, a prime candidate for rehabilitation. So you shoot somebody, or you shoot at somebody, you loot. The person that shoots is liable for rehabilitation, but not the person who loots.
I think what is of major concern here is the inconsistencies we see with the law being administered and the penalties, like you said. A lot of persons are victim of the system, especially, I think, if you're coming before the court without a record. And
Right.
in this instance, looting, I feel like everybody was doing it, and that does not make it right.
Right, correct.
But a lot of persons were caught looting.
At
Even
least
here-
75% of the territory. That might be an
Right.
overstatement, but a lot of persons
A lot
were.
of persons were doing it. Again, that does not make it right. But why the inconsistency,
No,
especially?
I
seen in
have
this
some
case?
more cases to present. Lolita Calenda, who has been a subject of our newscast for a very long time, she received 6 months for seeking to impersonate and falsify an HIV/AIDS test, which simply means that she was seeking to hide the fact that she may have had HIV, may be HIV positive. Okay, you're talking about someone who could have essentially put the health of others at risk, and she received 6 months. Lennox Franklin da Silva received 7 years, a 7-year sentence for murdering his wife and the mother of his children in front of them, okay? And he received 7 years. Now, many persons, Jovan, allege that the actions by the magistrate are highly incompetent and biased, okay? I simply think that is a crying shame that such injustice happens right before our eyes. We're constantly complaining about the United States and other jurisdictions. Well, let's just pause there, ladies and gentlemen of the
It's
BVI.
happening right
Let's
here.
look here first, all right? There is no need for stuff like this to just pass through our system when a young man who had no priors again, is going to be institutionalized, and others who committed the same offense or worse, they just getting a tap on the shoulder. That's that's what my grandmother would call chicken crap, as far as I would say.
Oh my goodness. Well, Ron, I do think this is a harsh penalty to pay, but I guess what the magistrate in this case is trying to do, she's trying to set a precedent. And we want to make sure that persons are not engaging in this act going forward. Let's see what happens. I know for sure, though, it did cause social media frenzy.
Indeed.
And I even saw some persons trying to raise funds because if he fails to pay the amount fined, which is the amount for the television, which is
$286.
$286, he will be required to serve an
6 months.
additional 6 months. And I know persons probably would have already come up with that money to ensure that that doesn't happen. So great community spirit here. Moving right along, the fast-track regularization process, which perhaps was the current government's most controversial initiative to date, resumes tomorrow, July 24th. The program, which was introduced right after gaining power, was met with major public backlash, and concerned persons are of the opinion that this will only add to the dilemma that we currently have, where you see native BVI landers feeling like their cultural identity is threatened. Initially, when launched by the Premier Run, he said this is an opportunity for him to do right by the expatriate community, which essentially makes up a big part of our population.
About 65 to 70%.
Right, a high number. And initially, he was saying that once you have been living in the British Virgin Islands for 15 years or older, and you have good standing with the country, or good standing overall, you were welcome to apply. Now, the local persons felt like this was a major giveaway, and of course, I think rightfully so. I think when we look at mass naturalization in any part of the world, it becomes a controversial topic. So a lot of persons did not agree with this. You even saw some members of the expatriate community feeling like maybe it's too much of a giveaway.
Do you think at any point, Jovan, it might have been the way that the narrative was presented? It came across as though we're in some kind of rush to all of a sudden exempt these persons. And I think it might have been just the way it was presented. What about you?
I do agree with that. I think considering that the BVI is dealing with a pool of other issues that we consider to be a lot more pertinent and important, especially on the regional and international scene, persons, yes, of course, were of the opinion that it was a rush, and why the rush. So again, major public backlash, but a few things to consider, Ron. I did some research, the Central Statistics Office, and I was able to see that residents, the category residents, make up for 5.5% of our population. We see belongers accounting for 21% of our population. So we have just about 27.5% of our population who actually fall into resident belongership categories. What that tells us is that 72.5% of our population, they don't fall into these categories. So essentially, what are we doing with these persons? They're here just literally working a 9 to 5.
And where do they fall?
Where do they fall? And outside of that, we all know by now that those persons, which includes myself, as a member of the expatriate community, you're not able to invest, you're not able to
purchase property,
buy a property
and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
As well as vote, which is understandable to a certain extent.
Essentially, what we have to do with our funds is, and that's another complaint too. A lot of persons say, oh, the expatriate community is just coming here to make money and send their monies back home. But how and where do we invest? What do you think about this formula?
Well, I think it's an interesting conversation because, as you said, expatriates are really not given the opportunity, even if they wanted to be able to contribute and invest in certain areas. Now, I do believe and agree that persons should, there should be some stipulations as it pertains to how we go about it. It could be regularized, but don't necessarily. We're coming to a point in our country where there's a little bit too much division, and I don't care for it because it's unnecessary.
And we don't need it at this time either.
Exactly.
I think the BVI is at a critical juncture, and like the Premier usually chants, unity is strength.
Yes.
We have to find a way to come together. I do believe as well that immigration reform is a necessary step, but we have to take a lot of things into consideration. In my humble opinion, we have to look at, or the government rather should try to assess what the needs of the economy is. Are we going to forever lean on tourism and financial services? Are we looking to diversify? Do we have persons in the country that can cater to those needs, especially our locals, of course, beginning with the locals, that can meet the demands of those industries? And if not, if there is a lack, then you import according to that. As well as a part of the integration process, in a lot of large nations across the world, there is a process whether it's community service, whether it's a test, there's something to show that you are a part of the community, or essentially that you know enough about that community.
Correct.
And I think 20 years, if I'm to be honest, Ron, if it takes me 20 years to work in a country for me to be able to prove that I am a part of that society, or that place is where I call home, I think that's a little.
Well, when you talk to the persons who have lived here for 30 and 40 years, you might not think so, because they're still here and they're still making contributions. So imagine your point is fair, but again, it comes back to the fact that we do have persons who have contributed, had kids, opened businesses, all that kind of stuff. And at 30 plus 40 years, they still don't feel a part of. So 20 versus 40, I get what you're saying.
Well, Ron, this is an issue that definitely
But I'll tell you this,
interesting.
I'm very happy to see that it's come back to the forefront, because after the initial introduction to it, and we got a lot of backlash, you kind of thought maybe the premier might have punked out by now, but he's still there and he's pushing through, so happy to see it to the forefront.
Well, from tomorrow, persons can pick up their registration forms at the Immigration Department. For belongers, it's $800. If you're applying for residency and belongership, it's $1,500. And for our third generation descendants, the fee is $800. If your application is successful, you're required to pay an additional $10 for the fast track immigration process.
And still ahead, cocaine seized on boat at Port Purcell and St. Croix, the one and only Tim Duncan, hired by the Spurs. These and more stories after our commercial break.
Is business slow? Cash flow down? Hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media at cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
When you need to stay connected with friends and families at home or abroad, the best choice for you is Freedom. CCT Freedom. With the lowest rates in the market, our Freedom plan gives you unlimited calls and texting. Plus, our Freedom One package includes 10 gigabits of super fast, unlimited LTE data and unlimited calls to the BVI, USA, USVI, Canada, Puerto Rico, and UK lines. Why pay for overages when you can enjoy CCT Freedom? Stop by at one of our stores today and speak with one of our representatives to find out more about our CCT Freedom packages.
How may I assist you? Yes. You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power? Hello?
Wait, you're the lunch and you say you were sick? What happened to our wedding rehearsal?
No, babe. I'm actually watching the news right now. Take a listen.
Topping our newscast today, UFOs seen around Tortola Pier Park.
And district-free residents outraged over no water supply. They simply cannot bathe. These and more stories when 284 News returns.
All right, babe, just get some rest, take 2 Advil, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Okay, honey. I see you later. I love you.
It's clear to see that Coconut Lounge is a place to be, the coolest cocktail lounge in the British Virgin Islands. A lounge like no other, with welcoming, professional service, and a breathtaking ambiance. Not forgetting a diverse selection of wines, beers, and signature cocktails. Cozy, comfortable, contemporary. Coconut Lounge at Tortola Pier Park. Visit us today.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching 284 News. According to a Royal Virgin Islands press release sent out today, yet another boat has been seized on BVI waters containing cocaine. While information is limited at this time, there are a few things that we do know about this crackdown. Ron, acting on intelligence, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, in collaboration with BVI Customs, they swept down on a vessel called Croix, while it was docked at Port Purcell. The boat is rumored to have had sail in from its origin, which is Guyana, carrying building materials. It's also alleged that on Thursday, July 18th, which is when the cocaine was seized, police and custom officers, they seized 3 pallets of cement that contained 200 insets. And upon investigation and testing, of course, 42.2 kilos, which is literally almost 100 pounds of cocaine, was seized. According to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, a number of persons were arrested, and of course, we are not allowed to pronounce on those names just as yet,
as they have not been
until an
released.
official release comes. But Ron, we see recently, especially, the force has been really cracking down on cocaine and other illegal substances entering our waters, and I must applaud the continuous efforts of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force and the BVI Custom Unit.
Well, the war on drugs, Jovan, is not a light one. It is not something to be taken lightly because it ripples. There's a ripple effect where we see these stuff coming into our society and we have no idea sometimes where they're coming from. But kudos again to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force for really trying their best as it pertains to protecting our borders and the fight against crime and drugs here in the Virgin Islands. Great news. It was announced yesterday that the one and only San Antonio Spurs legend Tim Duncan will join the organization as an assistant coach. Yay! Duncan of St. Croix USVI continues to set records even off of the court. Duncan will serve under his former head coach, Greg Popovich. Popovich drafted Duncan out of Wake Forest with his first overall pick in 1997 draft. The duo spent 19 seasons together. That's a very long time. And Popovich said in a team release, "It is only fitting that after I served loyally for 19 years as Tim Duncan's assistant, that he return the favor." Popovich, 70, described Duncan, 43, as like his son and more soulmate in life than we are in basketball. When Duncan's number 21 jersey was retired in December of 2016, they had 1,001 wins together over nearly 2 decades. What a relationship. It's a remarkable relationship that has now seen him through retirement, and he's serving as the head coach, assistant coach, sorry. The Spurs won 5 NBA titles, and Duncan was named final MVP for 3 of those years. The 2-time league MVP and former rookie of the year went on for a 15 All-Star game. He averaged 19.0 points and 10.8 rebounds per game over his career. Duncan is the franchise leader in games, points, rebounds, blocks, doubles, and made countless field goals. Congratulations to the one and only Tim Duncan, straight out of St. Croix. That's some good news.
Well, all of that sounded like gibberish to me. Because
well, you're not into sports, so I understand.
I'm not a sports fan. However, I think this is applaudable simply because, you see such great things happening for the Virgin Islands, and they're representing so well, and especially on the international scene. And this is a big thing, not only for the Virgin Islands, but I think for the region and across the board. So thumbs up to Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan.
Indeed. What you see, Jovan, too, is really where somebody has dedicated their career, their entire life to the sport of basketball. And for others, it might be baseball, volleyball, or other stuff. But there is rewards when it comes to sport. You serve your time, he's retired, and now he's giving back. That's what I like most about it. He's not sitting on a beach, which he could because he's from St. Croix, but he's giving back and coaching persons and helping them to achieve the same goal that he did. So I think it's remarkable.
I do, too. Viewers, that's it for today's news roundup. Be sure to like us on Facebook at 284Media and 284BVI on Instagram as well as Twitter. I'm Javon Wilson.
And I'm Ron Grant. Be sure to join us every Tuesday and Friday at 3 p.m. as we deliver honest and impartial news right here on 284 News. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Why are you really running for, boss? You could have bust a hole in your head. But see, with the competition, it's mean about to bust a hole in your pocket.
I could get my modem, please.
Anyhow, I got something huge to show you.
I gotta be sick in your head.
Well, hold on, string bean. Taking a kind of party. Check this. That's LTE1 for just about everyone. LTE2 for you and your boo. And hold on. Bam! Rate so low, you feel like you're free. That's LTE3 for for you and the whole family.
Save even more on your internet with new pricing from CCT. Get LTE 2 now for only $149. Get LTE 3 for the new low price of $189. All packages are unlimited, so there's no overage charge. You don't have to run into Chaz for savings. Just stop by our store and sign up today. Come on over to CCT. Life Unlimited.
Hello?
Wait, you had a lunch and care? You say you were sick? What happened to over the rehearsal?
No, babe. I'm actually watching the news right now. Take a listen.
Topping our newscast today, UFOs seen around Tortola Pier Park.
And District 3 residents outraged over no water supply. They simply cannot bathe. These and more stories when 284 News returns.
All right, babe, just get some rest, take 2 Advil, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Okay, honey. I see you later. I love you.
It's clear to see that Coconut Lounge is a place to be, the coolest cocktail lounge in the British Virgin Islands. A lounge like no other, with welcoming, professional service, and a breathtaking ambiance. Not forgetting a diverse selection of wines, beers, and signature cocktails. Cozy, comfortable, contemporary. Coconut Lounge at Tortola Pier Park. Visit us today.